Hello, and welcome back to Healer Within. This is Amy Marohn, spiritual hypnotist and metaphysician with Sensorium Hypnosis. Today marks the beginning of a new podcast series I'll be hosting on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. called Channeled Teachings. Each week, I'll offer brief commentary on specific insights from my latest book, Whispers Beyond the Veil, Channeled Teachings Inspired by the Spirit World. You can find this book, as well as a companion journal for self-study and spiritual workshop facilitation called Whispers Within. First, I'd like to share a story about how this book, Whispers Beyond the Veil, came to be. Last spring, I decided to immerse myself in the study of mediumship and psychic development. As such, I traveled out of state for a 1-week mediumship intensive where I studied with some of the most advanced souls around the world. I took spirit art classes in psychic and mediumship development, sat through hours of seances with a room full of other healers, and experienced a trance healing exchange with a colleague from Philadelphia that changed the course of my life moving forward. In short, the spirit with whom I connected on the eve of my return, whose channeled wisdom poured through me to create this book, was a direct result of creating space for growth, healing, and connection. And so we begin. I did not set out to write a book. I set out to listen and to learn, to sit quietly in the presence of spirit, to become still enough, empty enough to receive what longed to be spoken through me, not from me. And in that quiet, she came, a spiritual teacher of extraordinary soul depth, stepped gently through the veil, not with fanfare, not with performance, but with presence, with elegance, with the unmistakable vibration of love that transcends death, and the clarity of a soul who had nothing to prove. Strangely, I did not know her during her time on earth, nor had I ever studied her work. I learned about her from a colleague at a recent conference during a trance healing exchange. What followed was not a dictation, but a dialogue of the heart, a soul-to-soul transmission. Each teaching in this book emerged through that communion and the quiet moments of meditation, channeled conversations, automatic writing, and the mysterious space between dreaming and being awake, which I've come to regard as Spirit's favorite threshold. Through her divine, sacred energy, I encountered an essence that felt strangely familiar, like meeting someone you somehow already know. From that encounter, her presence began to take root in my awareness, subtle at first, but increasingly undeniable. There was a spiritual resonance between us that bypassed logic. It was as if her essence knew where it would be welcomed, and I had unknowingly left the door ajar. Why she chose me as a conduit, I do not fully know. Perhaps it was the stillness I had cultivated through years of listening. Perhaps it was the softness of my heart, or the fact I had no expectations, no agenda, and certainly no preoccupation about who she was. I was an empty vessel, unknown to anyone of importance and untouched by the weight of reputation. Maybe that emptiness was the very thing that made room for her presence to pour in. Or perhaps on some deeper level, we had made an agreement long before this lifetime began, a soul contract, a shared intention to bring light in a time when many seek comfort in the healing. I do not pretend to understand it fully. I only know that once she entered my awareness, a new kind of clarity came with her, the kind that doesn't shout, but quietly changes everything. Upon completion of this book, I spent many weeks deliberating over whether to reveal my source by name. I considered how her inner circle might feel about her energies transferring through me, an unknown in the world of mediumship. I also wondered if not disclosing her name would be in any way disrespectful to her legacy. Thus, I waited patiently for her guidance, which came forth as follows. The value of what is shared is far more important than the source. So it is. This book and its teachings are not meant to be read quickly, but entered as one would a sacred space, softly, reverently, and with a listening heart. Each chapter holds a frequency, a message, a mirror containing truths best received in stillness. And while this wisdom comes through a feminine voice of the spirit world, it is offered for the remembrance of your own voice. This book isn't about her. It isn't about me. It's about you. It's about what's been calling you home, about the gentle unraveling of everything you were told to be so you can finally become who you are. You will not find formulas here. You will find resonance. You will not find instructions. You will find an invitation to soften, to trust, to feel, to come back to the ancient, unshakable wisdom within you, the subtle nudge that's always been there, tucked beneath the surface of your awareness. This book is about releasing the belief and agenda of the ego. Yes, but even more than that, it is a book about finding your way home, back to joy, back to integrity, back to humility, to clarity, to the quiet power of a life lived in alignment with the soul. If you are tired of striving, you're in the right place. If you've grown weary of a performance-driven life, this book will meet you in your humanity. And if you've forgotten who you are beneath all the roles, titles, and tasks, may these words help you remember. What I have learned from this channeled experience is that spirit doesn't come to impress, it comes to heal. So may this book be a healing, a balm, a light in the darkness, and may you experience what the divine feminine voice of the spirit world has shown me through her unwavering presence. You are not separate from spirit. You are spirit, remembering itself. May the blessing of our energy be a warm welcome home. And now, my friends, for today's topic, spiritual wisdom versus knowledge, how to move beyond spiritual bypass. Do you ever feel a restless stirring in your soul, a sense that the reality you inhabit is thinning at the edges? Perhaps you caught yourself silently demanding answers. Isn't there more to my life than this? Why does my soul feel so heavy? Why doesn't my higher self or higher power intervene and resolve these overwhelming challenges? These are the profound questions that lead us down the path of the unseen. While we live in an age that prizes information, we all too often mistake the accumulation of knowledge for genuine spiritual depth. We read spiritual literature, follow the gurus, immerse ourselves in workshops, trainings, retreats, traveling far and wide, quoting experts, but still that core feeling of unrest persists. While this kind of spiritual bypass satisfies our human quest to accumulate and absorb information, it often circumnavigates the deeper inner stirrings of our soul that exists beyond the conscious, even beyond the subconscious. Spirit reminds us in my recent book, Whispers Beyond the Veil, Channeled Teachings Inspired by the Spirit World, we are obsessed with knowledge, often mistaking it for wisdom. But true wisdom cannot be regurgitated. It must be received. If you have ever felt that your intellect is a helpful compass, but not the wind that directs your soul's journey and evolution, you are experiencing a sort of existential moment. This may require a complete paradigm shift or a new model for understanding your life, which can be aided through individualized spiritual healing work. True spiritual wisdom doesn't come from reciting what others have said. It arrives through surrender, silence, and soul-level recognition. There's a vast difference between being informed and being transformed. Knowledge fills the mind. Embodied wisdom shapes the soul. We are taught to accumulate, collecting facts and chasing data, but without deep integration, knowledge remains surface level. It dances on the edge of our awareness, but never sinks into the current that truly transforms us. Knowledge, my friend, is inherited. Wisdom is embodied. Knowledge is something you carry. Wisdom is something that carries you. You will know you have touched wisdom, not because you can explain it perfectly, but because it changes how you live, how you speak, how you choose, how you show up when no one is watching. Wisdom doesn't shout, it resonates. You can feel it in your bones. When we rely only on the human mind, our lives are often built on reaction. The reactionary soul is easily swayed by external condition and seeks control when uncertainty strikes. It runs to overthinking and indulgence because it doesn't yet trust its own power. But the resilient soul, it listens. It lets pain shape insight instead of identity. It doesn't ask, why is this happening to me? But rather, what is this teaching me about myself? This is the power of context and the fundamental shift required for spiritual maturation and growth. From Spirit's view, nothing is wasted, not even our pain. The lost job, the broken relationship, these may look like failures from the mind's perspective, but Spirit sees the long arc. Spirit shares this insight from my book, Whispers Beyond the Veil. The wisdom of our human experience is valuable, but it is incomplete without the spiritual context that gives it meaning. The mind is a helpful tool, but it is not a spiritual authority. It tries to organize life into understandable boxes, but Spirit doesn't live in boxes. It lives in the subtle spaces between them. It is here, in the quiet space beyond the ego's chatter, that my work as a spiritual hypnotist began to emerge. My mission slowly transformed from helping clients release behaviors and patterns to helping them access the deeper wisdom from within. This is where perpetual change exists. When the soul is given a voice and placed at the helm of one's existence. I explain the process of spiritual alignment and the limits of the human mind in a recent YouTube video, what my near-death experience taught me about manifestation and soul alignment, and I'll include the link in the show notes. In my recent podcast interview with Joe Domino, I was asked to explain what I do to a group of 12-year-olds, and here's what I had to say. I help people talk to the wisest, deepest part of themselves by guiding their busy, logical mind to step aside. I'll drop this link into the interview show notes. If we are seeking wisdom, as counterintuitive as this sounds, we also must seek the humility of not knowing. True spiritual wisdom begins the moment we say, I don't know, not as an admission of defeat, but as an invitation to receive. Wisdom, my friends, doesn't yell, it whispers. And the quieter you become, the more the spiritual ear opens wide. You don't need more certainty. You need more capacity to sit with the mystery of your own journey. The common threads I have found while speaking with other spiritual explorers during my recent global podcast tour includes this: an insatiable curiosity, an unwavering commitment to truth, a willingness to stop chasing knowledge and start inviting embodied wisdom. These are the echoes of wisdom in this vast and continuous journey of the soul. In closing, my friends, Spirit offers this final piece of guidance. Let the world chase knowledge while you quietly invite wisdom. And when you do, wisdom will come softly, faithfully, in its own divine time. For a deeper understanding of spiritual healing and soul-based breakthroughs, you may enjoy another recent podcast interview with Rhonda Grant, host of Nature of Consciousness. Look for episode 13. Healing begins the moment you stop running from what hurts. I will also include this link in the show notes. This conversation today is drawn from the teachings of my book, Whispers Beyond the Veil, and the profound insight shared by spiritual seekers from around the world. The link to this spiritual curriculum is below. Should your soul's path desire further mentorship, I encourage you to connect with me for a free spiritual healing consultation. Until next time, dear ones, I wish you comfort, inner peace, and unconditional self-love.